Good evening, everyone. This is the low-tech hacking project presentation for IDC 6601. I am Justin Wells.
And I'm Brian Strickland.
And we're going to talk a little bit about what we have here planned out for our experiment. And I'm just going to go ahead and go into the next slide. Actually, Brian will. So basically our research question is, which low-tech or social engineering tactics are members of the general public most likely to fall victim to? And, I think what we're starting to see with cybersecurity training is that a lot of organizations are starting to focus on more of the high-tech tactics that are used, such as phishing campaigns, phishing attacks, and other various methods. And this research project is designed to test to see how vulnerable we are on the low-tech end, the methods that don't require intricate tools or tactics, things of that nature. So we want to see what will happen if we take 5 different attack vectors that are low tech and how well people respond to those situations. And that's our research question. And we want to try to take those results and see what happens with them. And then from there, we can maybe design some better cybersecurity training methods as a result.
Yeah, and as Justin mentioned, with the low tech, the low tech items can be extremely cheaper, even though some of the more advanced techniques such as phishing have a lot of automation getting done now, especially with the advance of AI. It's still more of an interesting take to look at these low tech attacks that can actually happen for a cheaper cost and maybe not as advanced knowledge on how to build some of these phishing attacks and such. So
Yeah.
what is the
No, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
So what is the purpose of the study? Well, in recent years, the focus of general cybersecurity training for the average employee has moved towards more high-tech methods and phishing attacks. While phishing scams are of a major concern to businesses and individuals, low-tech methods cannot be overlooked as it relates to training. Attacks using compromised USB drives have been behind some of the biggest hacks, both for and against the United States governments over the past 15 years. The hope of this experiment is to see how people respond to receiving USB drives from unknown sources and whether they use them. We aim to compare how successful this type of attack is against other low-tech methods and to analyze how older employees, 45 to 65, respond to such situations compared to your 21 to 44-year-olds. Interesting example of this is I've actually walked out of the Space Center when I worked out there, and there was a USB in the parking lot. I did not pick it up. So,
and that was the right move, Brian.
Yes.
All right. Got some related notes that we threw in here. A previous study that was done in 2016 it was a joint study between the University of Michigan, the University of Illinois, and Google. Involved 297 USB devices that were strewn about the University of Illinois, their main campus in Champaign. And it was found that I believe 98% of the drives were picked up, and 45% of those were actually inserted into a device, into a computer or related device, and a file was accessed. So if those devices are placed out there, people will tend to use them. And originally in my research, I was thinking that we probably would not do, well, and for this project, we're proposing not to do a drop of USB devices to a area or campus or what have you, but it has been shown that even in America, that can be an effective method. Originally, in our research, we have found that this is a very popular method over in the Middle East to use as an attack vector, because slow internet speeds really drive the use of USB devices for videos, for movies, for television shows. Is a common method for watching various programs. And Brian, you mentioned earlier that it is not expensive for attackers to use some of these low-tech methods. And one of the common ones in the USB world is the so-called rubber ducky, which can be purchased for just $60 a pop.
So some of our experiment objectives, we want to know how often do individuals fall victim to being offered USB drives, which are infected with malware and spyware, compared to other low-tech or social engineering style attacks. Is the USB attack more or less efficient? We're going to want to target age brackets, because your 21 to 44-year-olds are going to react differently than your 45 years or up, or that's the assumption that we want to see. And then the results of this test could be used to help better design cybersecurity training materials in the future.
So the centerpiece of our test design is going to be a mailer that we would send to approximately 20. Right now we've decided on 20 test subjects for each of the 5 attack vectors, so a total of 100 test results. But that, of course, that could be altered. But the primary centerpiece of the test design would be 20 mailers sent out to individuals with USB drives attached to them. And it would look like it's from a legitimate company, but it would not be so professionally done to where you would definitively think that, oh, this USB drive came from Microsoft. We want it to kind of simulate a phishing campaign, where normally it looks like it's a legitimate email, but there are telltale signs that show that will allow a user to know that there's something wrong here. So that's kind of the centerpiece of the test design. And the other attack methods are social engineering. We would just have 20 users get phone calls to see if they'll give up credentials or access to a system. There's lock screens, people not using lock screens. We would have 20 individuals be tested to see if they lock their screens when they get up from their workstations. There would also be tailgating, where we would see if 20 users would allow people into a building, into a restricted area, with an individual who is disguised as a janitor or something of that nature, where it looks like they have some sort of business there on the premises. And then there's also the shoulder surfing, which is a common attack method, where people just kind of surf the shoulders of unsuspecting users for various credentials and what have you. And did I get all of them, Brian, or did I miss one?
You've got them all.
Okay, so yeah, that's what we want to hit there with our experiment.
And so these are just some of the references we use to do the project proposal. And in closing, if you do see USB drives while you're walking around on UCF campus, don't assume that Justin and I are doing the actual research project. Probably
That's
going
right.
to get spammed or fall victim to malware. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.